Welcome to Cosmic Comics, Games and Collectibles, your zen of geekism. We carry comics old and new, magazines, toys, games like Pokemon, Magic, D&D. Want Godzilla, Ultraman, Star Trek, Ninja Turtles, Funko Pops? You'll find it all here. Shop our Cosmic Sound Room and pick up a record or two. Enjoy our Comic Coffee Lounge with a cup of Sasquatch coffee while geeking out over a super cool movie on our big screen. Cosmic Comic, Games and Collectibles. Superman loves us, and so will you.
And good evening, everybody. I am RJ Carter, Senior Managing Editor here at criticalblast.com. And I am joined by not just guests tonight, but actual peers in more ways than one now. We're taking a plunge that we've never taken before. And you can all put your wallets away tonight. Keep the credit cards in the drawers. This is advanced scout notice for crowdfunder yet to be. January 1st, I think, is the date. Can anybody vouch or correct?
Something like that.
First-ish. January 1st-ish, I guess.
Yeah, it's tentative.
Oh, I can deal with tentative.
Yeah. Well, it's a lot of moving parts. A lot of us haven't published before. A lot of us are using different artists, different colorists, different teams. And
it's weird because I've been covering. Well, I've been covering comics for 50 years. Either as a reader or a fan, and then as a journalist. I've been covering crowdfunded comics and independent comics for the last 6. And you'd think I would know all the ins and outs by now. But once you get on the other side of the desk, it is a different ball game.
It really is. It really is. It's there's a lot of things that you speculate about that once you're in it and once the reality is there, you find entirely different vistas of complications. So, all right.
I removed myself because I was told by the chat, Mike Walters said that I was blank. And that am I still blank?
Yep.
I look blank on YouTube.
Yeah.
You're blank.
You know what? You guys are just gonna have to run the show without me for a second, and I'll be right back.
All righty. All right, let's get him struck right quick. Anyway, just kidding.
I know, right?
Yeah. I created the master list of campaigns or projects. There he is. There he is. There you go. There you go.
This is something in StreamYard. If you start out with a background and you change your mind, StreamYard loses its. Look, I came in twice.
I was just coming to save the day in case you were gone. You're good. I'm out. Bye.
Okay, thank you, Pops. Always good to have somebody watching my back there. But yeah, this is so okay. I don't know if I've explained this on show or not yet, but my workstation used to be this folding table. I had 2 laptops on it. Job 1, job 2, and as job 3, the shipping business started taking up more of a footprint in my living area. I replaced that with this 5-shelf wire rack workstation.
Oh, okay.
So my second shelf here has got the old tabletop on it. So it's back, laptops all at the same height, boxes beneath me with packing material, printers and label printers, more boxes, Gemini mailers. It's all stacked up. So I've clipped on a fan because it gets hot, because this is a wire frame and it's, easy to, it's like Legos, it's like I can always clip something else on.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I've got lights clipped on up here. And the idea struck me this weekend that, this is a wireframe shelf with it's got a wireframe lattice in the front, in the back, and the sides. That this little triangle pattern goes across there.
Oh, okay.
So I looked at it and I was like, I can do something here. And I went to the hardware store and I bought myself 2 48-inch rebar and I threaded it through the top shelf till it came out. And it was sticking out about 28 inches. Like, okay. Went back to the hardware store, said, I need 30-inch PVC pipe.
Yeah.
Slid that over the rebar, said, yes, this works. Took it out, went to the Walmart, got me 2 2.5 yard bolts of cloth, green and black. Fabric glued the PVC pipe into the end of each. And now I just slide a background on.
As you do.
As I do. And it's like, it's easy to take off, rolled it up, throw it in the corner. I don't have this great big tripod standing up anymore. But
there you go.
But it's still a work in progress. So
yeah, I hear you.
Well, I have a background. It's a dirty studio, so
Well, that's what I had before too. Was like all this junk going on, and like, there's some comic book pictures back there, and I'm not ashamed of any of it. But as the boxes start to stack up, I'm like, that looks untidy.
Right. I'm away from my green screen. I just have I'm in a bedroom and stuff with wood paneling and stuff like that. So I'm going to put on my list when I move out of here to a bigger place, get a bigger computer. Because there you go.
Did not know that it would be so limited. I thought, I've got the green screen. I've got a green bodysuit. That nice. Covers my face and everything. So I was going to get back to doing the Marmalade show.
Yeah.
And that would have been helpful to have the green bodysuit and the black background, just to take a black background picture. And I'd be like, yeah, you can't see me. I'm John Cena.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
It's amazing you get involved with all this stuff. How things kind of take the back seat. I mean, I like to work on my show more, but every time I work on my show, everything else drops. So,
it's a juggling act.
It is.
Now, your show is you handle the writing side of things. You talk about how to write well. Almost said how to write good. you'd have had me in your show for a week after this episode. That.
That's how to write comics good, not well,
Yes.
because well is a hole in the ground from which you draw water, and good is the opposite of bad. So there you go.
There you go. I can dig that.
That's my old catchphrase, but I kept screwing it up, so I just stopped.
And Justin, you're in the writing game as well. We've had you on before. Different books you've been in the process of making.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, and thanks for having me tonight. I'm new to kind of all of this. Been working on Chrome Dog with Luke Stone for a while, and that's been setbacks is definitely. I'm learning how the game is played, but I have to say that the artist that I have working for me now, Kevin McDougall, is doing a really awesome job with the 6-pager for Out of Obscurity.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah.
How did you find your artist?
I think we just wound up following each other on Twitter, and I liked his art style, and he had a really cool avatar that he drew of this killer clown looking guy, and so that caused me to kind of look into his portfolio, because he has I think he has his art station up on his bio. So I went and took a look at it, and I was like, wow, this guy's he's pretty solid. And so I just reached out to him. We kind of, I told him this was the project I was, and that it was going to be for comps and that this is an opportunity for us to kind of like start something. And the more I work with him, the more I'm definitely interested in, running a title with him, apart from Chrome Dog. I have at this point, I'm not making it much of a secret, but I have my own universe that I'm creating, that I'm world building. Right. So there's different heroes that are going to intersect in that. And so I'm learning that there's going to be different styles that I'm going to be bringing in. One of them is Kevin's black and white. Like, the guy is just awesome. I can't wait to show some of what he's done for me.
Building a world is a pain, But the thing about it is when you build a world, it opens up possibilities for stories that are just endless, and the problem doesn't become figuring out how much story or figuring out where you're going to get story from, but to whittle down which story you're going to tell now.
Yeah,
exactly.
And that becomes the challenge,
World building for me, the trouble I have with it, rather the trouble I have with writers who do it, is that okay? There's world building along the lines of Discworld with that Terry Pratchett wrote, and with every book you learn a little bit more about Discworld. And I've seen a lot of writers who are like, I've built my world and here's my characters. Here's my world, open wide. It's coming in, so that you have it all right now. And now we can tell the story. I'm like, I don't want the story now. I'm full. Thank you very much.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's kind of. I always point to the Matrix as example of this. The Matrix, the first story was self-contained. It was cool. There was this world, the machines have taken over, blah, 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 set up the mythos. But then they laid this bloated epic on you, the next two stories. And it just kind of like the center would not hold, Yeah. And it wound up. Yeah, it wound up tainting the legacy of the first movie. But if you just have that first movie and just tell people that's the movie, just watch that movie, you're good.
That's the Matrix for me.
But because they kind of like said, oh, okay, well, we got our foot in the door, okay, let's bum rush, let's just break into the house now.
It reminds me of Rambo. It's Shadowpunk. Hey, Shadowpunk. How's it
What's
going?
up, man? What's up?
I should put something
you,
exciting up in the background. Here,
have you
let's
read?
light this thing up.
Oh, no. Everything's fine. Everything's fine.
This is fine. This is fine.
This is fine.
This is fine. So, have you read First Blood by David Morrell? That was the original Rambo novel. Hard to find these days. From what I understand, I actually had a copy at one point, and I sold off a bunch of books. I think I sold it, which I'm regretting that now, big time. I didn't realize how hard it was to find this book. But so it's a book, self-contained story about Hojo, about this guy named John Rambo who goes, he's back from Vietnam, and he's been through some stuff, and he's just trying to get back to what real life is, trying to, and the police just won't leave him alone in this small town, They think he's a bum and all this stuff, and so they keep picking on him and keep messing with him, and then he just snaps, right? And so the entire movie is him versus the authorities in this town, and all he wants to do is just be left alone,
right? Right.
And he gets, his old colonel gets on the phone with him, or whatever, and or on the radio, and he tells him, he says, well, they drew first blood, and all this stuff, and so that's kind of what's going on in this. Well, spoiler alert, in the book, the ending of the book, they set it up for and they did it. They actually filmed everything for the movie, but the spoiler, I'm not gonna really spoil it, but I will say that it's supposed to end like that. Movie is the ending is final. It is over. No more movies.
Yeah.
Right. So what
it's funny how books differ that way.
Well, what happened? But that's just it. They filmed it, right? They were gonna, they presented it that way. Matter of fact, if you remember, the first Rambo movie was called just First Blood.
Yeah.
And then after that, they're like, it's
Rambo
First Blood
1,
2,
Rambo 2, Rambo 3.
But that's what they did with it's Rambo, First Blood 2, that kind of thing. And so they went back and they filmed this alternate ending to, perpetuate into a franchise. And that's kind of what Hollywood did with this book. But the book itself is a really good literary
was that Troughton monologue when he's explaining Rambo to the sheriff, just how dangerous Rambo really is to the sheriff? Was that in the book? The whole thing about
probably.
Yeah.
Probably. Anything that was smart in that movie was definitely ripped from that book. I mean,
that whole line about he was trained to, he's trained to eat things and make a billy goat puke. If he wanted you guys dead, you would be dead.
I was
exactly.
I was in high school in the early '80s when I started realizing how single books were being turned into franchises and stories twisted. I had read Planet of the Apes by Pierre Boulle, and nobody has made that movie. Nobody has translated that book ever.
No.
And I also read Cyborg, which was about an astronaut named Colonel Steve Austin who had an accident.
$6 million man.
Yeah. And I mean, it got into how everything worked, and breath control. Let the legs run. You don't have to breathe like you're running 60 miles an hour. The legs are running 60 miles an hour, not you.
Right. Yeah, I read that book. I did read that book, and I was a little disappointed.
Well, yeah, it wasn't nearly as exciting as the television franchise, but
but yeah, Crichton does this all the time because you read Michael Crichton books. There's a lot of technical stuff. He's not content to tell you, oh, the dinosaurs were revived. He wants to tell you the DNA sequencers, and just he wants to tell you how everything was made. The time travel book Timeline had a lot about quantum physics in it. I learned a ton of stuff about quantum physics and quantum foam and things like that. I didn't know, but from reading that book,
should have a warning on says your IQ should be at least this high before entering this story.
Yeah, but then the movies come out and they're boneheaded action flicks. They have absolutely no depth to them, like Sphere or something. Dan
Brown did pretty good in some of that. Of course, he Like I remember, was it? It wasn't the Da Vinci Code. It was Angels and Demons. At the beginning, it says, "This is a work of fiction," and then it says "quote," and then it quotes someone that's a fictional character, and making it seem like it's real. It's very interesting how he does it.
Hey there, Woody and Pixel Trader. Good to see you out there.
What's up, guys?
Yeah,
what's up?
I was heavy into the Dan Brown books with the Da Vinci Code and all that until I got to the point where it's like, wait a second, this whole thing hinges on a code that Da Vinci hid in the anagram of Mona Lisa, but he never called it that. It was La Gioconda. Somebody called it Mona Lisa like several years later.
Right.
Like, he couldn't have possibly done that.
Exactly. Yeah. It was Mona Lisa was like attached to it later, and somebody just said, responding how it looked. They didn't really. It was a portrait. It's just basically some throwaway portrait he did, and it's become so iconic,
Or the self-portrait of a trans Leonardo.
There you go. Very good. Very possibility. I've seen the overlays. Well, speaking of
hey, we got a book to talk about, right?
Yeah, think about old things that are being rediscovered. This out of obscurity thing. I've got a master list here. There you go.
Look at that. This is the cover, and I've of course dinked with the sides of it to stretch it out. But there is the cover. It will be coming from Arrow Comics 4.0.
That's Odin Dasco pencils. I think Luke colored it. Luke Stone. Let me give you the master list. I had this confirmed by everybody, but this is what we got so far. Justin up here, right there, is doing Bronze Tiger.
Terror.
Yeah, Hojo over
Bronze
there.
Terror.
I say Bronze Tiger's kind of still on.
I'm sorry. I actually wrote down Bronze Terror. I actually have written down Bronze Terror.
Yeah.
My fault. Bronze Tiger is Anyway, my fault. All right. Hojo over there is Korex, son of Tarzan. And it's how would somebody like Tarzan deal with modern day society? With the encroaching of technology. It's a really cool story. I read the script. Nick Tockert wants Paul Bunyan, a kaiju killer. So,
Slayer.
Kaiju Slayer. There you go.
You know what? I just watched. I just binged all 8 episodes of Reacher. Details matter.
Yeah, they do. They do. If you cast the right guy, that's exactly what the author had in mind. It does go a long, long way.
Oh, I know, but he keeps saying that in the film. I'm like, it's not Bronze Tiger. It's not this. It's not that. Details matter.
Details matter. Details matter. Yeah.
I don't hold it against you, buddy. I'm just trying to make sure I understand.
No problem. Well, see, I did master list, and then nobody gave me any feedback on it. We've got the Dubois Fowler, also known as Matt Fowler, who is doing Tiger Blue, and he also Prospectors, which is a book I'm really wanting to get a hold of.
Specters with an RES on the end, right? Because that's like ghosts.
Yeah, RES.
Yeah.
Specters. Right.
Specters have given up their amateur status. They're prospectors.
Yeah, exactly. He did Psycho 66. He also did Dixie Rose, so he's pretty prolific. But he's doing a Solomon Kane story. He's got to skirt around, I guess, because not all of
at least. Yes.
Yeah, Solomon King's not all in the public domain, but he's using part of it. That is. Anyway, I'm having to walk that line too myself because I'm using the original Ghost Rider that came out in the Tex Hulk comic, and Rex Fury is his name, and my story. I'll show some art from it in a little while. But it's called Ghost Story. But then a Scholastic book, also known as Earth's Best, is doing a Captain Battle story, but it's more of a comedy. A little bit more of a parody. The Heap, that's Kim B. He's I'm not sure what else he's done. You guys know?
Some of us haven't done anything because this is our first foray into this.
Well, let me click. Well, he's doesn't look like I'm not seeing anything published, but he's evidently an artist in the community. Yeah. I don't think he's published anything yet. A lot of us haven't. No, that's what Out of Obscurity is not only these characters, but it's also some of the creators. Anyway,
yes, absolutely.
Mr. RJ Critical Blast here is doing a story with the clock. The clock strikes, I think. Which he's actually predates the Spirit. He also predates. I think he predates the Shadow.
He is the first. He is the first masked hero in American comics.
Mm-hmm.
He does not predate the Phantom, and he gets an asterisk because the Phantom was published in Britain.
Okay, all right.
Well, that makes sense because because it's set in jungle areas, so it has that whole Burmese kind of colonial bit.
Here, let's put things in order. This is the evolution of the beard.
Yeah.
Woody, that pay attention to the book when it comes out. That phrase will appear.
Yeah. Because he basically
has like has face.
Yeah, he kind of has eyes cut out, and this thing is like a white.
Worst costume ever.
So, yeah, it's pretty
That's
bad.
Hilarious.
And he also shot a lot of people. He was not into like arresting people endlessly. He was into like ending the threat. So that's gonna be interesting. Brian Christgau is going to add a 6-gun gorilla story. One of his shorts. Because 6-gun gorilla, I did not know, is actually public domain character that he revived. So
I think there were 2 versions of it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just going. So having him aboard is a really cool thing. Jared Bricky is going to do Super Guy. That story is going to be hilarious. Let me see if he's done anything else. I think he's got some things in the works, but I don't think he has anything currently published. But anyway, but yeah, so that's probably gonna be his first one. Super Guy. It's about a retired superhero just trying to go shopping at a grocery store, and it gets robbed, and hilarity ensues. So that's gonna be real fun. I've seen some of the script, and it's hilarious. And Luke Stone's studio, I thought he was going to do one. I don't know if he's announced which one he's doing yet. You guys know anything?
I know nothing.
As far as I know, he's as far as I know, he's with Nick on
Got you.
On Paul Bunyan and Babe.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course, he's going to be lettering a lot
I'm
of
pretty sure he's doing art on that one.
Yeah, he's doing a lot of lettering. I know I'm probably watching him. Speculatively, we're working right now to see if we can get Odin Dasko and Broken Compass Comics to come back to the project. So we're just in discussions with them, but I would add Call of Atlantis, which is actually written in verse. And Broken Compass Comics has actually written a Winnie the Pooh Cthulhu story called Cthulhu. Yeah.
That would be fun.
I've read the script and I've seen some of the art, and it's a hell of a story. You really want to see if we can get it back. But
Urathotep makes an appearance, but it's
right. So that is yeah, right.
Can't even say that twice.
Comics. I just added one. He just came on board. I think he's already publishing. But he wanted to. He heard about it in the chat that we were taking entries, and he said, "I want to try this." So he found a story called the tower that time forgot, and it's using an old obscure public domain character, but telling a kind of a dystopian story. So I consulted on the script, and it's a good one. So if you look at what we've got, as opposed to, we've got like straight noir, we've got Western horror, we've got a retrospective story, we've got comedy, we've got parody, Winnie the Pooh. Yeah, that's a good one. And we've also got, kind of like a crazy grab bag stories, but it's very well-rounded, very interesting lineup. Looking forward to reading some of these stories,
Yeah, it's going to be a thick book.
It is. I think Bronze Terror is a future story, isn't it? On a different planet.
Yeah, not. So it's going to pretty much, I guess at this point, it's going to be I was hoping Chrome Dog would be the first outing, but this may be the first outing of my universe that I've created.
Right. Right.
It may be in the future, and it may be on another planet, but it's not futuristic, and it's not space. There's
space opera.
There's no space travel. It's a very the world that I'm creating is a very I guess compared to this one, a very locked down world.
Okay.
So I'm I guess the best way to describe it is think like Hunger Games in districts, but make that global, right? And so you've got different states, and in the world that I'm creating, the planet is named Ringgold. It's actually named after an anthropologist by the name of Charles T. Ringgold, who founded the place. Like he discovered it, and then convinced a whole bunch of people from this world to go with him to sustain their cultures. So he saw that globalism here was a terrible thing because it's eroding all these different cultures, and so he goes through different cultural centers around the world. Exactly, but kind of like, but there's like the secretive society kind of thing, but it's meant for like a benevolence, right? And so he gets with all these different leaders, and then they rally their people, and they all just make this quiet exodus while this world is burning.
Yeah.
So, the only stipulation is that if they go through the gate, because that's what it is. It's like a Stargate, if you will. They find this portal. Once they go through the portal, they demolish it on the other side, and there's no going back. And so everybody consents to this. They go through and they don't come back. And that happened close to about 2,000 years prior to the events of all of the stories that I'm bringing up. So
now the technology level Exodus is myth.
What's that?
So now the whole Exodus is myth.
Pretty much, yeah. It kind of some of it's handed down in some of the sectors, and the other sectors that And so the thing is, there is there's a tradition that's gone on that has allowed for there to be kind of a meeting of the minds of each of the sectors, so that they can remain their own cultural, and they can progress their technologies at whatever pace they wish. And the overall like controlling document is something that's akin to the Constitution if it was a little better, right? And so they come together, and they have to kind of I don't want to say vote on this thing, but they just make a decision whether or not they want to still agree to be a part of this union. But it's not globalism. So long and short of it is, when we get into the technology of the story that I'm providing here with the Bronze Terror, which again, it's going to be Jeff Dixon. I mean, I'm using the same character. What I'm doing is I'm just this is his like great like so far into the future. and I'm tweaking him a little bit, but he does practice law, and I'm tweaking him just ever so slightly because in the original comic book he's on a horse and he has a bow and arrow, right? And those are kind of like his tools of the trade, as it were.
What is the original comic book that he comes from?
Sure. The original comic book that it comes from is called Real American, and it was let's see, by Dick Briefer back in 1941, I believe. Let me see if I can. Let me throw this link in the chat for you. Maybe we can kind of go up and down if you like, if you want to analyze. But yeah, he and he has the traditional Indian headdress and all this sort of accoutrement. But the thing is, he's shown riding horses and everything else. And from what I understand in history, the Apache were not known to be horsemen. It was the Comanche that were the masters of the horses. I mean, yes, Apache did, utilize horses, but they didn't control them as well as the Comanche did. So what I'm doing with this iteration is he's descended from both Comanche on his father's side and Apache on his mother's side. And that actually kind of makes it's a big deal, even in these 6 pages, because he inherits this artifact from the world before. So it is from that time of myth, as you say. So, right. And so this artifact, it carries with it a certain totem from that old world as well, with I guess you could say with an axe to grind. And so that's more or less, I don't want to say this 6-pager is his origin story, but it's definitely enough to get people, to try to, maybe want to know more about him, and also, but it's from start to finish, like, action. I'm not trying to be funny or cute. I'm just like, it is a John Wick 6-pager.
Right.
But
yeah, he's like he gets out of the business suit and puts on the buckskins and the headdress with the face mask there, the skull face mask.
Yeah.
And he also has body paint. So if you look, he has like a skeleton body, bones and stuff on his arms.
Yeah. He didn't.
And so what I've done, right? Because that was I believe that was the first iteration, and then just over time they kind of iterated a few more in other later issues.
Right. Mine comes from a similar era. If you want to share,
are you
that
ready
one.
for me to share yours?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. This is the Tim Holt magazine. Tim Holt was like the star of it. He's actually a Western star at the time, and this was his comic. But they wanted to kind of like spice it up, so they got together, brainstormed, and came up with this idea for a phantom rider they called the Ghost Rider. And it was a character they already had called the Calico Kid. It was the second iteration of the Calico Kid. Guy's name is Rex Fury. And he had a Asian partner named Sing Sing. And so, is that error, it's a little bit, shall we say, anyway,
insensitive.
Right. Insensitive. But they couldn't, at that time, because of the Comic Book Authority, they couldn't do a truly supernatural book. And so everything he did had to be explained. It was a Scooby-Doo kind of thing where he faced these threats that look supernatural on the surface, but then turn out to have like people in masks and things like that. And he faked being supernatural with phosphorus and to glow. His horse would glow. He glowed. He had a black interior of his cape, so it looked like he was floating. He had a black lariat and things like that. And And that series became at the time it became the most popular character in America for a red hot minute. And but the publisher that he was being published in went out of business. And somebody who worked on this book. Oh, by the way, that is a Frank Frazetta cover.
Really?
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
He did one of the first.
Awesome.
One of the first things he did in comics was covers for the Ghost Rider. But yeah, he let me see. I can increase it real quick. Anyway, yeah. This I think it's Frazetta. But he did several covers for the Ghost Rider comic, and this is the Frank Frazetta. I checked. This is not like some Frazetta that this is the
Frank Frazetta because
this is the Frank Frazetta. Anyway, this is like the first thing he did in comics. He was I think he was 16 years old. He was like really, really young. But he was one of those Wunderkunds, come out of nowhere. Wunderkund, sorry. I forgot German. Yeah, W's or V's. But yeah, so I mean, you look at some of the detail. I mean, he's just, even back then he had something. But yeah, so he this really popular series. Okay. But this really popular series basically kind of went the way of the dodo. I think it was All American Comics was the name of it or something. But this guy that created it wound up working for Marvel, and they're looking around, and he's like, well, what about Ghost Rider? Let's see if we can get Ghost Rider. Turned out it went into public domain, and so they got it, and they combined it with something called Demon or Hell Rider, which was a hell a guy that like escaped from hell, and he's like using powers while he's riding on a motorcycle, and so they combined the two, called a Ghost Rider, and changed this guy to Phantom Rider, and changed the name to Cade. I can't remember the name.
Carter Slade.
Carter Slade. I had two conflated to my
Big
Carter
Jim Slade. Oh, no, wrong movie.
But yeah, so this guy is actually in public domain. But Luke was like really nervous about it. So instead of just like overtly calling it Ghost Rider, we're going to call it Rex Fury Ghost Rider. And just the name of the story is going to be just called Ghost Story, and it's basically a 3-act play told over 6 pages. I have the let me pull up the
you have preliminary pencils.
Yeah, let me show the storyboard. I've got that right quick.
Okay.
But
who is your artist?
It's a guy, Hulk 924. I think he's from. He's a animation student from who's working in Paris or France, somewhere in France.
Y'all found people to work cheap.
Yeah. Okay.
I didn't.
Right. Anyway, let me see. Is this still shared, or need to share it again?
No, it's still shared. I'm seeing it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Okay. So this is the storyboards. This is just his roughs. But see, that's about as good as it can go. There he goes. All right. But yeah, this is him arriving to find the cave headquarters. It's been raised. That's his friend. They killed his friend, tortured him to death, left him a note behind, and then inviting him to come to town. The guy by the name of Black Bartholomew. So he buries his friend. Yeah, it's Black Bartholomew. So anyway, just in case the Black Bart's in use somewhere.
Well, actually, he was. If you remember the Lone Ranger action figures,
right?
Black Bart was the name of the bad guy.
Right. Well, I want to make sure this is Black Bartholomew just in case. But yeah, so he buries his friend and he goes to town. Here he is, like this is the kind of high noon kind of, lone man coming into town kind of thing. Yeah. And then he faces off against townspeople being held captive. And here's Black Bart, right there. Tell him, Anyway, I have some. Let me see. Let me escape from there and back up a little bit. But yeah. So anyway, let's see. All right. That's some finished. This is a finished page. The finished first page. It's ready for coloring.
Oh, that's inked and everything. Yeah. That's sweet.
Yeah.
That guy's kind of got some McFarlane feel to him, early McFarlane.
I told him he's like if you took Sergio Leone, written or drawn by Brett Booth.
Yeah.
That's what. But especially, I mean that panel right there is really good. Let me kind of hold on, back out a little bit. But I mean,
yeah, that's some good stuff.
That's really, really drawing a horse. A man on a horse is like the ultimate in art challenges, and he does a really good job with it. But he's taking his time. He took on some work after he got started, and he's got a contract with me, and he's trying to finish that, but he's having to do it at work. And I'm like, you know what? If that's what I'm coming up with, what I'm getting from it, take your time. But yeah, it's I'm really looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to you guys seeing it. But
well, I need to. I guess I need to redirect here in a minute after you're done, RJ.
I was taking my turn, I guess. This is I'm going full screen so you can see my own stuff. This is not my stuff. This is Mark Oliver.
Woody over here, Bert Umbra Bart.
Yeah.
Bert Umbra Bart.
Pick the next crayon over in line.
There you go.
This is the first pencil page. I've got three pages inked for this story, but I'm just going to show the penciled ones tonight. This is the opening for The Clock Strikes, and they were all called The Clock Strikes back in the day. He didn't have story titles. It was just The Clock Strikes by George E. Brenner.
It's kind of like the detective novels or detective story or comics, right? Something like that.
Just the name of the character, and here we go. This is, it's a group of thugs. They're, sitting around doing nothing because their boss has been put in jail, and their boss's brother is in from Vegas. He's been called in to take care of things. He's like, why aren't you doing stuff? And they're like, while he's giving them the riot act, the radio reports that somebody else has been taken down by that masked vigilante known as the Clock. And he's like, who's this Clock guy? And like, oh, you don't know? He's like, and so they fill him in, and he's like, okay, I got a plan. And what you end up seeing is now these pencils have been changed because Mark didn't get the initial thing from it. They're pulling robberies at the bank, at the jewelry, at the Widows and Orphans Fund, all of them wearing the same mask as the Clock. And that's what had to change there. He had them just in bandit mask. Like, no, that's story point.
That's a story point. You kind of got to add that. Yeah.
So, the Clock is hearing on the radio that there's an all points bulletin out for him. And now we have credits. The Clock Strikes with the credits. And he's got his little sidekick, Butch, who had joined him later in the series. And, they go out patrolling. Now, these pencils have also been corrected to where, because he's in Brazil, and apparently they have British cars in Brazil. So I was like, wait, got to turn that around. So digitally flipped, and we were all good. So this is page 3 where he's like, he sees you see somebody dressed as the clock. He's mugging basically a corner Santa kettle, because that's all they're doing is they're just making the clock look bad, as many of them as they can, and in many places. So while the clock confronts his doppelganger, the policeman's like, "Holy cow, it's the clock, and there's two of them." And that bottom left panel should look familiar, because that's the Spider-Man meme, with the cop in the background there, and he tells him to halt, and one takes off running and the other follows after, and we have a foot chase. And I'm not going to say how it ends or why it ends, but it actually has something to do with the transition in the clock's storytelling that went through the years.
Okay.
The clock predates the Spirit, and at one point actually looks like the Spirit. So it's and I think Will Eisner even well, Eisner even said that the Spirit was based on a Golden Age character, and it's pretty much obviously this one, because George Brenner was doing this for Crack Comics, and Will Eisner was doing a handful of different titles, story titles under the Crack Comics banner, with different pseudonyms. Some of them Will Eisner, and then some of them Will this or Will that. So it's very likely that this was the inspiration for the Spirit.
Cool. Oh, cool.
We got sex bots. We've got sex bots. Yes. Okay, Mike. I will tell them how I was inspired to do the clock, because Mike has a show on Friday nights. He does the niche news Monday through Thursday at the mic stand, which he's getting ready to do in just 4 minutes here. But on Friday, he goes into the Golden Age, and he's been pretty much chronological order. And Crack Comics has been part and parcel of the whole deal. And since, of course, the clock was one of the earliest masked crime fighters, the earliest masked crime fighter, he's been showing up rather frequently on the show. In fact, there's not any, everybody else is like a spy buster or a rodeo player or an athlete or a female reporter. There just haven't been, not until he got to Superman did they get any other real characters. He's up to Action Comics. He's into Detective Comics now. So, well, I don't think he was in 1936, but could be. Yeah, okay. Because Superman was 38, and there were comics out for 2 years before him. So yeah, he was at it for a while.
Right.
I keep thinking comic books started in 38, but they technically started way before 36. We could get into a whole dissertation on the Tijuana Bibles and the collection of strips that were done in poor taste, but collected as books. Technically, the first comic books.
Skin mags.
Skin mags. Yeah. Well, always porn always leads the way. Whatever tech they're using, that's what's going to.
You're always going to find a way to make smut. There you go.
Yes.
Yeah.
Justin, did you have art?
Yes.
Let's get back to the Bronze Era for some of this.
This. Okay. So what I didn't say is, I'm actually for my universe, I'm rebranding the Bronze Terror, and his name is gonna wind up being Thunder Horse: the Bronze Terror.
Oh, cool.
Let's see, but for this project, he's the take on that. I'm trying to figure out. I've hardly
came to the right place, Eric. We are as nerdy and technical as it can possibly get.
There we go. Okay, maybe I can't tell. Okay, so it should be Sharon. Is it Sharon?
It is. Okay. There it is.
All right, cool. So this is page 1, and so we have an establishing shot up here of the train, which is really cool because it looks. I mean, it does kind of have that space age vibe, but then again, it's also just it feels like different tech, right? And then there's this little spider going on up here. I don't want to get too far into minutia,
Not
but I will say up at the top. It's close to the camera anyway.
Okay.
But if you look back there in the sky,
I have to head out, guys. I'm sorry.
Sure.
All right.
Okay.
Hey, Bunny.
There you go.
All right. See you, Bunny. If you see there's 2 moons, and so Ringgold has 2 moons. Lux and Proxima are the names of them. Those 2 celestial bodies. I get to have fun with those for sure. But yeah. So this is the first page. Basically, it follows Jeff Dixon on his way back from visiting home, and he's on his way back to Epsilon City, which is where that's pretty much where all the superhero action happens for now in my comic universe. And so while he's on this train, he's reading this they're reading the paper. He's actually kind of contemplating different things, and he's got a little briefcase in his lap, and then he witnesses something pretty ghastly and heinous.
Yeah.
And and so there's a guard that kind of goes up and down the aisle, and a certain criminal decides that he's just going to go ahead and take care of the guard, so he's not a problem. And so yeah, and then this prompts Jeff to grab this mask that he's been holding in his briefcase, and he throws it on, and he transforms into Thunder Horse, the Bronze Terror. And
I love
pretty much he proceeds to terrorize, if you will, these bad guys that are pretty much, they're all in this car, and they're all here to get him. And he's having none of it. And so
I love how this is the future, and that everybody's wearing these cultural antique style of clothing. You had your samurai gear on the one guy there in the back. At least it looks like samurai gear. And Jeff is holding his
good.
Jeff's holding his briefcase, and it looks like he's wearing like a leather skin kind of shirt.
Yeah, I mean it's so the time period is kind of it's all over the place as far as style goes, because the different sectors they kind of do things in different times and whatnot. And what you see in that guard, he's a Takeda guard, which is a certain sect of because the way I'm setting it up in my universe, there's no such thing as like Japanese anymore. I kind of fall back to the Nipponese, and so it kind of so I'm following kind of that into kind of like the original kind of like subculture as much as I can. I mean, but I'm also like trying to figure out, okay, well, what would this look like if it were allowed to endure and didn't have all the Western influence, or as much as it did. So, but yeah, so it's just a kind of an action romp, if you will, and he kind of goes through and starts taking out the bad guys, and he gets punched in the face. So we have like a first person gangster there, this bottom panel.
Yeah,
he knocks him down. Yeah, and then so he lands, and then they gang up on him and everything. They're all just trying to beat him up, and kind of, almost like Mjolnir, he's able to he calls back his tomahawks, and he uses them to to kind of take out the bad guys.
Now the transformation, that's a mystical thing that's new to the character, isn't it?
It is. This is like
reimagining.
He feels this right. Exactly. It is a reimagining. Plus his if you look here on his arm, I kind of keep that bone look. So he has this, these white bonish tattoos or whatnot. Of course, it'll look different once it's colored. But his chest, instead of going with these what look like skeletal like ribs or whatnot from the original, I've decided like it's a skull of a horse. I it's kind of, and it's just kind of emblazoned on his chest. What it is his character design was another artist, Sergio Rios. He helped me, kind of reimagine him from start to finish. And so I have that, I have like a 360 turnaround of him. Let me see.
You can't call yourself any kind of terror without a skull on your chest. It's
exactly. Well, not just a skull on the chest, but he's also got this old skull from his ancestors. One of his ancestors, and that's what gives him power, if you will. But yeah, the original Bronze Terror didn't have any superpowers. He just, he was man enough to stand up for his people and and take care of take out the trash, as it were. But
that's why he had to be anonymous.
Yeah, exactly. But this, I'm still when it comes to Jeff Dixon and this iteration of him, this is his first time actually transforming as well. So what we're seeing here is almost not quite an origin story, but it's definitely this is his first time.
Yeah, the origin story will be him getting the mask.
Well, or just yeah, but I mean, I cover it here really. We just don't see it because it's in words, Yeah. So you kind of get that, but yeah, there's these are just the first 4 pages, and Kevin's got a couple more for me and whatnot. But he's definitely he's looking to try to dispatch some justice, because there's this this moment where he sees what he in that moment he views this guy as just an innocent guard who's just, he's standing watch, and then he's not given a chance to fight or anything. So it's almost like a sucker punch. And there's something stirs inside him. He throws the mask on, and if you'll notice, he deals non-lethal damage to the different gangsters, but
which using a tomahawk, that's some trick.
Yeah, exactly. So it's measured, but the thing is, he's really trying to take out this the lead culprit, the killer boss, I'm calling him for now. And he actually he wants to kill him. But you see, we'll have to see how the story ends.
Yeah, and folks, if you want to see how how all these stories end, and maybe they don't end, maybe this will be the beginning of something that we just keep doing, which would be really, really nice. Stay tuned. I don't even know what platform this is going to launch on, whether it's going to launch on Indiegogo or whether it's going to launch on Fund My Comic, which we've already talked about on the channel before. It would be kind of cool if it did that. But once it does, I'll get as much of the gang as possible together, and we'll start, making the rounds on everybody else's show. I'll have to be a guest on people's shows. I'm not used to that. To talk up the story.
Yeah, I've got I'm prepared to, to do that as well. Of course, I'll also be shopping and, shopping, as it were. I'll be around to talk about Chrome Dog.
Yeah. Oh,
project.
yeah.
I'll be proliferating that everywhere once we get this 10-pager I guess it'll be 12 pages. This 12-pager done. Because Luke reminds me, hey, you gotta have those multiples of 4, and I'm like, you did this to me, because it was supposed to be 8. I told him, I said it's supposed to be 8 pages, and he's like, man, he says, can I do it in 10? And I was like, sure, but I wasn't thinking. I was like, well, darn, I gotta have 2 more pages.
Oh, see, I turned in 7 because I'm like, it doesn't matter how many pages the story is. The book has to be laid out in multiples of 4. So, if I do 7 and somebody else does 5,
7, and then somebody else does 7.
Close enough, but yeah, he said, he's like, sorry, it can't be 7. And after having read the script, he's like, I don't know how you could possibly do it in 4. So go one more. so it's an 8-pager.
Okay. Well, there you go.
But I'm excited about it. I just got the inks for page 3 tonight. Mark Oliver is moving forward with the pencils for page 4, and that will bring us to the halfway point on this one. So it's expensive. It's expensive. I'm glad I'm paying that page time.
Yeah. And I'm wow. Yeah. Sorry about that. I mean, the way I'm working it right now with Kevin, of course he's agreed to work for comps and for credit and all that. But I want him to do his best job on the colors too. So he's done. I mean, he's doing the inks as he goes, right? So I'm not even seeing pencils before he's like, here you go. So he's knocking it out of the park as it goes.
It's funny. The first anthology. Go ahead.
Well, he had help because I had Luke do the layouts. So after I got the script nice and tight and I got with Luke, Luke's like, and that's really the secret of this, right? Is that Kevin he agreed to do them for the issues if I had all the layouts just to hand to him, and it's like, here's the layouts, here's the script, go to town, and that was the deal, and so here we are. But go ahead.
Okay, it's funny. I couldn't ask anybody to work for comps, because when we did our first anthology at Critical Blast, that's what I was doing. And I was listing it up on Raylan. I was like, okay, 5 copies of the book for, as payment. And the guy who runs it is like, why not cash? I'm like, money. He's like, how much is it going to cost you for the 5 books? I'm like, this? He's like, why don't you put $20 in a book? And then people can say, I got paid. And then it's a paid print. And it will cost you less than 5 copies of the book itself. I'm like, I hadn't thought of that. I just thought of cash as always being more. So we made it cash payment and 1 copy. And when we did our second anthology, we were swamped because suddenly we were a paying venue. So while it was hard to get people on the first one, when we did The Devil You Know, it was like at least 175 stories were submitted to that, and I had to pick 20.
Now I will say this. He's as much as I say that he's working for comps, I threw him some money because what happened, not for this project necessarily, but when we were negotiating, we were talking or whatnot, and he was really like jazzed about doing it. He was waiting on layouts from Luke. He sends me just out of the blue a pinup of he just drew a pinup of Jeff Dixon and all his fiery glory and everything, and I think he even has the headdress just for the pinup, and I thought, wow, and how cool is this? So I wound up paying him for it because I knew that I was going to be showing it and and using it for some stuff. So I was like, well, and the way I look at it is, as long as his schedule, because he works a full-time job like I do. As long as he and I can flow in some type of rhythm, I think it'd be kind of cool for him to just go with me on this journey in exploring Thunder Horse's world issue by issue. That'd be fun.
Yep.
At this point of view.
All right. Well, I need to wrap things up, but this was fun. I'm excited about this project. I've never been. Yeah. I've written novels. And I'll tell you, writing novels was easier because I sat down to write the comic. I'm like,
really?
Okay, page 1, panel 1, panel 2. I'm like,
oh,
and I couldn't see it. Yeah. So I had to actually draw the comic, and I can't draw.
Right.
But then I could at least look at it and say, okay, this is what happens here. This is what happens here. And then, of course, I didn't get all the technicals right. So when I showed page 1 of the pencils from Mark, I was like, yeah, this is great, but what about that title block? And that wasn't panel. I didn't say panel. Here's title block. I just said masthead. So he just drew panels. I was like, okay, well, we'll just move this as the last panel on page 2. It works just fine because we've had plenty of precedent for that. You look, You turn the page, boom, you're into the story, and it's a good jumping in point right there. Lessons. I keep learning. So,
oh yeah,
Justin, thank you so much for coming on and talking about the Bronze Terror with us. Bunny, glad you were here. Can't wait to see more of your stuff. Can't wait to see when the band entirely gets together and we start doing stuff and talking about it. I know we've seen lots of pages in the DM group where we're all working together on the project. It's going to be something, folks. So out of obscurity, be watching for it to start funding soon-ish, couple weeks, January maybe-ish. Until then,
looking forward to it.
Thank you for watching, and as always, we just hope you had a blast. Good night.